McDonald's, look at the number of times they've entered. They got a special award this year for being the client of the decade or the century. 7 times they've been awarded. And they didn't actually start at the beginning. They only started quite relatively late in 2008. But they have used, if you want to say to your board, here's a company, one of the most professional marketing companies in the world. Look at the many uses of marketing communications that they do. They launched new products. The wrap was one of them. They launched new sectors of the market. The breakfast market was the subject of another award winning. They make the company more attractive to potential employees because the Mac Jobs, I think one of the first ones there in 2008, the Mac Jobs controversy was going around, and people who worked for McDonald's were kind of, their mates got at them and said, God, what are you in a dead-end job like that? And they made a very brave campaign to convince people that actually it was quite a classy place to work, and it did work. And then their Eurosaver campaign, which is their main kind of brand, they did very careful research on 2 of those award papers. One, which was before the recession, in around it must have been 2007, just before the recession, 2006 there. And at that time, Rip Off Ireland was a kind of common currency out there. People were getting ripped off, and they did a very clever campaign showing how exorbitantly expensive stuff that teenagers were buying, like denim, concert tickets, whatever, and how cheap and how reasonable the Eurosaver was. So they used, and that's again is a factor in some very successful campaigns. If you examine what's happening in society and can insert your brand into a societal issue, because the issue is already prominent before you've started advertising, you can trade off all of the publicity or all the controversy over that, and you can kind of double the effect of your budget, more or less. So that was very successful. They did another campaign where they examined the life of teenagers. God love them. Must have been pretty boring. And found that teenagers feel all angst-ridden and nobody understands them, all the usual stuff. But that in McDonald's they felt it was a safe haven for them, and they kind of traded on that for another campaign. So highly professional company. If you look at the 7 case histories that McDonald's have done, it'd be a useful exercise to get your senior management in and say, this is the way they do it. This is the way they use marketing communications, and this is the effects that they've had. Jack and Jill this year, 45,000 they spent, and they raised 450,000. On a 45,000 budget, they raised 450,000. That is not a bad return on investment. Even the meanest accountant would have to cede that little argument. Very interesting campaign. And finally, Liberty Assurance. Again, it's the planning of the campaign that impresses me on this one, I'd have to say. I think it's well worth reading. Remember the circumstances that they had. They were taken over the Quinn Group, 2 of the insurance markets. I mean, a market in free fall, a brand in decline, discredited, and there was a lot of ways they could have gone. It may seem obvious in retrospect the way they went, but I think they probably had a lot of debates on it. And I suspect, to me, what they've done is if Liberty had come from New York, I don't think that campaign would have worked. They traded off an Irish understanding of Boston. We have 2 kind of models of Boston. One is the kind of poor Irish, the Southie Boston people who worked their way up against the snobbish kind of aristocratic Boston element, and the other is the aristocratic Boston element, who are the souls of probity. And that's what they traded off in that campaign. The fact that there was that aristocratic, white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant Boston idea that were ultimately, that were the soul of discretion in terms of morals and ethics, which was the exact opposite of what they had taken over. And they really latched on to that mood in the planning process and created a very successful path.